We'll control them with toileting.
Yep.
Yes.
We're just, I don't know why we're so right about that one, but, and this goes
I like
back.
How you're bringing us the California heat today, guys.
I don't know, man. It's burning up here. It goes back to the only time we actually did a live Canary Cry thing on a stage, you and I. There was an image. We asked the question about the mark of the beast, and we had an arrow pointed at the other side of the body there.
Yes.
So I'm not going to say prophetic, but just so on point, right? So anyway,
Cons,
yes,
we were unappreciated then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we shocked the people.
We thought it was going to be a big laugh. Not a single person laughed. It was not an opportunity. People were not ready to laugh.
Yeah, look for that somewhere on Canary Cry Radio. Navigating the End Times. I don't remember the episode number, maybe like 64 or something like that. But anyway, this is San Francisco Chronicle.
We need to
and
have a conversation. Oops.
What?
Sorry, you blanked out a little bit, and I was filling the void, but it was okay. Keep going.
Sure. The headline here is poop. I'm reading it verbatim. Okay. Poop and pee fueled the huge algae boom in San Francisco Bay. Fixing the problem could cost $14 billion.
Yeah.
Poop and pee.
Yeah. Not a very professional headline. And this is on the San Francisco Chronicle.
Yeah. It's like a legit
San Francisco's big news outlet.
Mm-hmm. And
okay,
we talked about Antarctica, and one of the themes we keep bringing up about Antarctica is that, hey, everyone says, all the social media people in the mainstream, they'll be like, oh, climate change is causing Antarctica to melt and all this kind of stuff. But then the scientists are like, no, stop saying that. That's not what's going on. Something similar going on here. After an unprecedented, harmful algae bloom first turned San Francisco Bay a murky brown color and then littered its shores with dead fish, many people assumed it was yet another climate disaster to add to the list, along with extreme drought, wildfires, and heat waves.
Drought.
What did I say?
Doubt, but also extreme doubt.
Yeah, well,
there's also extreme doubt.
While scientists suspect climate change played a role in triggering the bloom, what fueled it is not a mystery.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing a theme here to a story later on. They're just sort of inserting the climate change may have played a role thing and not supporting it, not backing it up in any ways. And I assume that they're just going to drop it all together for this other reason they're going to give us.
Yeah. Okay. Algae blooms need food to grow, and this one had plenty. Nutrients originating in wastewater that the region's 37 sewage plants pump into the bay. In other words, we wouldn't have this problem without the poop and pee of the Bay Area's 8 million residents.
What is up with using these words?
I don't know. It's the arrested development or something, shaming the people that are, in their 50s and 60s into thinking like they're children again or something.
It's almost like in protest of decency or something. It's not that bad. It's just kind of juvenile. You'd say human waste, and we all would get it. We don't need to read this on San Francisco's premier newspaper, but okay.
Quote, for those of you who aren't aware, when you flush the toilet every day, you're flushing nutrients down, end quote. Eileen White, executive officer of San Francisco Bay Regional Water Quality Control Board, said at a news conference last week. The waste arrives at a sewage plant and is treated, she explained, but those nutrients, mostly nitrogen and phosphorus, remain in the water that is discharged into the bay. There's been no evidence of a raw sewage leak. Rather, it's the regular amount of those nutrients that have long made the bay primed for a harmful algae bloom like this one, which started in late July in Alameda and has recently flared up as far as Sausalito, Vallejo, and Fremont. Nutrients, I
don't get it. So there's no evidence of a raw sewage leak.
No, this is just the natural stuff.
It's just the normal amount of the nutrients.
Yeah.
Are they saying there is or there isn't sewage going into the bay?
the whatever they're releasing after it's treated at the facilities, the normal amount of the nitrogen and phosphorus that's in there over time.
So they're not saying it's any over time. Okay. Yeah. It's just built up or something.
Yeah. Right. Just over nutrients, quote, may not have triggered this specific event, said David Sen, senior scientist at SF Bay Nutrient Management Strategy of the San Francisco Estuary Institute, a group formed to study the issue 10 years ago. Quote, but they contributed to its size, the amount of the organism, and how long it lasted. And then they got these. So
it's been such a problem 10 years ago that they created an institute to study the problem 10 years ago.
And now they're like, hey, it's a problem.
It continues to be a problem.
Harmful algal bloom, and they have a whole algal. They have all the graphics here to show what's going on. The Regional Water Board has told agencies that it will probably require caps on nutrients in wastewater when their regional permit comes up for renewal in 2024, but upgrading dozens of aging treatment facilities could cost $14 billion, which would double or triple ratepayers' water bills, White said in an interview. I think that's what's going on here too. Quote, it's a multi-billion-dollar Bay Area issue that needs to be thought through very carefully, taking the science into effect, she said. Quote, there's all sorts of different treatments and none of them are cheap. A major challenge is that most of the treatment plants date to the 1970s and 80s, after the passage of the 1972 Clean Water Act and other regulations. Previously, municipalities simply pumped raw sewage into the bay. They got pictures of dead fish and the whole thing. And, it kind of goes on and talks about the situation. A couple of things to point out. First off, this comes a couple weeks. I mean, obviously this has been an ongoing issue, but a couple weeks after we reported on Bill Gates working in, I think it was South Korea, to reinvent the toilet. Do you remember that? He was like, redoing the toilet and da-da-da. Very convenient.
Incinerates the waste right there in the toilet, so it doesn't need to be sent to a treatment plant.
And so given the problem reaction solution, it's interesting to watch the problem being presented in California specifically, because most people in California are a little behind the curve on everything. They're not really paying attention. So it's like, oh, we got this issue. The other thing I'm interested to know more about, wasn't there a whole push for like algae based energy?
Yeah.
So what happened to that?
Algae based food,
like fuel.
There was algae based fuel. Like algae gasoline.
Yeah. The airplanes that run on algae and that whole deal. Why don't they just do that? I don't know.
It's an interesting connection. It also brings to mind the nitrogen caps that are being put on farmers, especially in the Dutch farmers, and the European farmers getting nitrogen caps, which is a fertilizer, put on them. Interestingly enough, most of the world's nitrogen is produced in Russia. Now, I don't know anything about nitrogen, but I mean, if this nitrogen is being created anyways by human beings got to use the potty, and there's going to be nitrogen in the potty. Why are we so dependent on Russia for the nitrogen? And why not just, figure out a way to get all this nitrogen and sell it to the Dutch farmers? It sounds like $1 billion idea to me.
Hey, look, you should come to California. We need to set up a meeting. Trump. You need to talk to Newsom, man. Get Newsom on the phone.
I was thinking this idea sounds about as thought through as Trump steaks were. And I was thinking if anybody could help me make this happen, it might be that guy.
Yeah. So, but 14 billion. I mean, that is what? That's about 4.5 times more than the CERN Large Hadron Collider. I mean, come on.
That's a good point.
You should just open up a portal.
How does upgrading the San Francisco sewage system cost like 5 times more than the Large Hadron Collider?
Yeah, well,
this sounds like nonsense to me.
Yeah.
I think that number is inflated, and I think you're right. I think it's to create a situation where, hey, we're going to spend $14 billion anyways. Why don't we use that $14 billion to buy everybody Bill Gates incineration toilets.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while we're at it, they have to sign a contract that lets us test their waste for sewer surveillance purposes.
And then, we can really separate all the elements of the waste, and then we can have that rich stock of nitrogen that we can sell. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. It all makes sense.
Why don't they just put us in charge?
I don't know.
We could fix these problems. But anyways, it does smell fishy, just like everything else in San Francisco. We'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah.